Hello and welcome once more to Gamer Book Yaps, episode silly. Yamba, 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 yamba. What does that mean? Calls? People are calling me? Listen, Annie, I don't do well with calls. Let's not get used to this, okay? You have to text me first, and then I'll let you know if I can pick up the call. Hi. Hello. Well, today, the silly has made a decision, and the decision would be to start a new game. Now, in this game, it's been said that there was use of AI in the puzzles. It was this whole thing, right? This whole controversy. I decided to play it. Why did I decide to play it, you may ask? Because today's book that we're going to be talking about is called The Calming Wave. It is by Mustafa Suleyman with Michael Vaskar. I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not pronouncing it correctly, I apologize in advance. Now, why this one, you may ask? For quite some time now, I have wanted to actually stick my little shilly little fingers in the whole AI situation. But I wanted to do this from the perspective of understanding it. My tomatoes are ready. Hi. Guys, I had already started the game, and I had started the game because the whole point of the conversation was to see the puzzles. I have been playing for a while, probably almost 2 hours. I'm going through the tutorial still. It appears to be kind of long. No puzzles on site yet. The whole point was to test out the puzzles. And my question was it really necessary to use AI for these? I don't know. I haven't been able to make it there. Anyways, so imagine my surprise, right? When I find out that the CEO of Microsoft AI had already made a book about AI. And I thought, well, this would be, let's go. This would be a fantastical start to our conversations about AI if we just play a game that used it while we have this conversation. Now, ultimately, yay! I don't know what it means, like a better tomato? What do you mean? What's the difference between the tomato and the better tomato? I think it's necessary to have an honest conversation about this. And oh, hi. Are you the gold person? Hello. Sell items. Big money stuff. Ooh. What if I just... Ching. Why are you particularly... Are you spying on me? Why are you asking me that? Anyways, as someone who makes art myself, I understand firsthand the resistance that we're having towards these AI-related conversations pretty much everywhere in the world. I think there is value in having educated conversations about it, and with age, as I am almost in my 30s, I am in fact getting old. Most of these conversations, they're not particularly black and white or good and evil as most people, intend to make these conversations look. A lot of the times people will interact with information, understand it from their own perspective, and then simply cast a judgment, right? Make a decision. Is this good or is this bad? And then from that perspective, they will also decide how to inform others. Oh, I have to talk to him. I will admit the controllers are a bit funny to me. This is not what I'm used to. Maybe the people who usually do this are used to the controllers being like this, but not me. I think there's value in understanding the availability of knowledge that we have as it pertains to the subject at hand before we cast any judgments or make any decisions. Now, while I don't support the unethical use of AI in any capacity, in my humble opinion, it is also dishonest to act as if AI or these different technologies don't play a part in the way that we survive and thrive, those of us that do, in human society. Expanding my home. You made me buy 8 of them and you were gonna give me more anyway? I think that's messed up. Upgradable. Give me more stuff. Yes. The idea that we just get to criticize and point fingers at things we don't really understand over a rigid understanding of right or wrong from the get-go is hypocritical and dishonest in my perspective. Personally, right? Even though I can 100% assure without a shadow of a doubt I'm not the only person. However, not only have I been at the edge of death and been saved by technology, meaning I wouldn't be alive without it, but had I survived in another time period, I wouldn't have my left eye without technology, right? And so I'm not gonna sit here and just have a conversation of AI bad or AI good from an already polarized perspective, because I think aside from being hypocritical, it is also unrealistic. However, culturally, socially, factually, it is very fair and very valid to experience resistance towards these conversations or towards the implementation of these technologies in society. And the reason for that is very obvious, but I will state it and it will be clear. The reason why we have, as humans, a proclivity to fall, return to your home, access what? Friendship journal. Friendship journal. I already know I have no friends, but you didn't need to put me on the spot like that. That's crazy. Anyway, bitch. How does one access this plot thing? New character. Are y'all calling me again? I said text me before you call. I am not social. Insects, birds, and fish, quickly make sure to explore different areas. No thanks. I'm not interested in fishing. I did that because you made me do it. Fishing, stop making me fish. I don't like fishing. Anyways, you guys like my Crocs? You guys like my Crocs? They made me buy something for the tutorial, and so I bought Crocs. You like my Crocs? I think my Crocs look fantastical, if I do say so myself. I don't even remember what I was saying, bro. In my opinion, it is very fair to experience resistance towards these issues, and it's very clear and obvious, the reason for that, but I will state the obvious, I guess, if I must. It is very common to fall for fear responses, and the reason for that is because system administrators have a tendency to exploit their power to control the masses. These very same system administrators, seemingly, I'm not gonna sit here and make the assumption that it's all of them, but it is definitely enough of them to have an impact in culture, right? They all are, in a way, participating in this race to super intelligence, which the home masters are not going to interact with you. Your position may be reset. I'm not trying to interact with anybody's home. Oh, this is gorgeous. It's beautiful. Oh, it's beautiful. Does this count as a new area? God dang it. I'm not good at fishing, okay? No. Release the button when the line turns red. I didn't even know I had to do that. Anyway, can I go down there? Is that another fishing spot or what? Are they gonna make me keep fishing? Would you look at that? I really did that. In any case, because it is common for fear techniques or tactics to be used against the masses, it is realistic to expect it to be the case today or with these new technologies or any others. It's not dishonest to expect that, right? Because it's what always happens. God dang it, I should have released it. I trusted too much. I don't know what that is, but it looks like expensive. I gotta lock in. Yes, I caught a tuna. Let's go. In any case, system administrators have a tendency to use fear to make people fall in line with whatever it is that they desired. And so the particular aspect that is the missing piece to making this an adaptable technology that people are not going to sabotage is leadership. And the reason for that is because in order for leadership to be effective organically, people have to trust that you have their best interests at heart. And for you to expect that from these people, currently at least, well, I'm afraid you would have to be dumb. But you're not dumb, and I'm not dumb. So it's gonna take some work. Clearly, it's gonna take some work, aside from what I just mentioned, because there is currently an apathy gap between the rich and the poor that is the size of the Grand Canyon. The apathy gap on its own is an entire subject. This video would have to be 10 hours long if I wanted to get into that, but I'm not gonna. Now, here is one thing that I believe to be true, regardless of whether or not we are addressing the rich people, poor people conversation. And that is as follows. Unfortunately, factually, humanity is the only thing that is wrong about AI. Now, the accountability language conversation is a conversation that we initiated in a separate video. So I will say this. If the thing is learning from us, much like, for example, the way that children learn from their parents, which we are responsible for both its failures and its capacity to be weaponized. Ultimately, the market might have been created by elites or by the rich, but the market is sustainable because it's for the consumers and the consumers make it operational. The consumers both operate the market and then spend in the market in mass. And that's what makes the market what it is. Now, there's only so much big bulk amounts of money you can get from the elites until at some point in one way or another you have no choice but to involve the entirety of humanity into making technologies like this that are so consuming actually succeed. What? Am I Jesus? I'm pretty sure I just walked on water. Where are these supposed puzzles? Hello? And so it begs the question, where is the line, right? How much is too much about these conversations? And can there really be a balance between technology and nature? I don't know. The whole point of this is to find out. So we're gonna indulge in however many books we need to indulge, however many reports, however much research we need to indulge on, so that we can get to the point in which we can answer that question. So hi, if you're new around here, my name is Lyra. I read books and play video games, and today we're gonna be talking about the coming wave. Now, admittedly, I've only read the first 3 chapters, so that's what we will be talking about. This was more so an opener than anything else. Hold on, I gotta lock in because I'm bad at this. Okay, relax, please. Let's go. Wait, does this count as a different one? Did it count? I almost forgot to mention, besides areas, weather will also affect collecting. You didn't almost forget to mention. You did, in fact, forgot to mention. Am I a joke to you? Hobby master? Can I upgrade this one instead? Hobby proficiency, how much do I need? So I have to work harder? It says upgrade any hobby. So I have to go work harder so that I can upgrade the hobby that I want. Whoa, it's a gorgeous home. Oh my gosh. People have probably low-key been working so hard in this game. What is that in the sky? Is that like a park? That is my house, but what is that? It's gorgeous. Y'all are still here? Do they stay there? It appears that we are good for now. Huh. Now we need to do something about the mess we've made here. My house is not housing. Wait, so how do I move it? Can I move it? That's how I move it. I can color it? Peak gaming experience. Won't let me pick it up. Not the kind of window I had. Now I'm mad. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Whatever, dude. Whatever. Speaking of which, it appears that capitalism is the name of the game on here too. Jesus. Now I gotta work to go make money so I can decorate my house. That sounds like a lot of work. That sounds like a lot of work. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. Either way. Ooh. Would you look at that? Would you look here? 43 minutes? Dang, that's a long time. I think that we just plant more tomatoes. In any case, so chapter 1. Right? We are entering the period, as it is discussed in the book, where both AI and biotech are becoming far more broadly accessible. It was very refreshing to see that even the experts on this field have been making efforts to have the conversations that need to be had as it pertains to strategies for containment and what the future could possibly look like, even in fields or rooms in which the general population don't particularly have access to. Innovation does tend to spread faster than usually its capacity to be regulated, right? I think I'm selling this one. Oh, Lee, that is gorgeous. I was talking about that house over there. I'll keep 5 until further notice. Can you even sell branches? You can? Can you sell it? Hey, yo? Okay, I think I'm gonna keep 30 of this. And then, is this really necessary? Now, in my opinion, which honestly, in other words or ways, it is also in a way reinforced in the book, I don't have any of these. That's crazy. That's a lot. Dang, so expensive. Capitalism. Okay, so in my opinion, which is also more or less reinforced in the book, let's go check out what. The more people know about these technologies, and by people I mean quantities of people who are aware of the existence of these technologies, the harder to contain they become, which the book does set the example as a reminder of what happened when printers were invented and we started being able to print press, the more widely spread these technologies become, not only is containment more challenging, but they also are more likely to be weaponized or misused. This is a good example that the book uses, but the book also names the example of gunpowder. Now, I have another example, one that to this day we're suffering the repercussions from, which is, you guessed it, well, you might have not, but I'll tell you anyways because I'm a yapper, the invention of the compass. And once the compass was invented, what happened, right? Which is so funny that we're talking about this, because when we talked about the art of thinking clearly, I told you that I think everything is dual and cyclical in nature. Well, I think I told you that everything is cyclical in nature, but everything is dual in nature in my opinion as well. And what's really interesting about this is with the creation of the compass, not only do we have a broad opening of global trades, but also, dun, 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 the greatest, biggest, broadest webs of exploitation, aka the slave trade, right? And so with every piece of technology that we develop, it has a possibility to become both a blessing and a curse, right? It's not either a blessing or a curse, it's both a blessing and a curse. This is a beautiful home. Oh, you're rich. Speaking of the elites. Oh my God, it's beautiful. Oh. Whoa. I'm out here snooping in other people's houses. This is why the rich don't like us. Anyways, innovation does tend to spread faster than our capacity to contain it, which also does make it more challenging for governments, which are the entities that we expect to step in to actually be able to control what the population's doing. And to that, I will say this, and some people might find discomfort in this, but I feel like it's not only worth addressing, but we need to start having conversation about it, which is at some point, as humanity, we will have to take accountability for the fact I can steal people's cars. I can steal people's modes of transportation. How is this not Grand Theft Auto? I shouldn't be allowed to do this. I shouldn't be allowed to do this. Whose bike is this? Can I keep it? Oh, whee. Okay. Can I steal these and keep it? I don't know, but I'm gonna try. No. So it was someone else's vehicle. That's interesting. Anyways, bro, I don't even remember what I was saying. What was I saying? In any case, it is worth at some point having the conversation of a lot of the times people tend to forget that the whole reason why there is government is because of our, and by our, I mean all of us as humans, our tendency to have a lacking capacity for both self-assessment and self-control. If some of us weren't out here acting like Neanderthals, 9 times out of 10, there wouldn't be a need for reinforcement. And I'm not saying that reinforcement isn't weaponized. It is. But can we say it's not necessary? No. We cannot, right? And so that's where the balance comes in. This is beautiful up here. I have no idea what that is. Anyway, in any case, so what's the pattern here? Technologies, systems, or structures have to be created because, well, that is what evolution does. Evolution identifies a need or identifies a problem and then tries to solve it with whatever resources we have available. Why is bro? Oh my God. Hi, Princess Stella. You are so cute. Right? I know that's right. First night. Oh, they're so cute. That is in fact what evolution does. What does evolution do, you may ask? Identify a need or a problem that needs solving, identify resources and availability to be able to solve these problems, and then create systems to solve them. The problem is, in the evolutionary loop, that everything that you create is both a system that can solve a problem and also something that can be exploited if you're not careful, right? And so where does the problem come? I can sleep there? That's crazy. Anyways, when does it start becoming a problem? It starts becoming a problem when we apply little to no risk assessment on how it is that these systems can be weaponized and we just launch them. This is more my opinion and nothing to do with what is discussed in the book, of course, but I think it is worth mentioning or worth discussing the fact that as a society, the world that we live in is very reactive. This does mean that it is very common for things to be launched to the public with little to no prep work put into foresight of potential risk, or having open educational conversations of risk assessment in particular. Well, I would say risk assessment, management, and broad consequences when mismanagement occurs. And so it is realistic to ask if slowing down is necessary, considering the structural issues that we already have all over the world that are, of course, tied to the huge gap in age that we have between the people who make the decisions and hold the power versus the people who actually have to operate, live, and survive in a world that is already immersed in these technologies. And so I'm sorry for the side yap or side quest. I didn't mean to TED talk you. But chapter 2 jumps straight into containment problems. What is that? Oh, it's another spot thing. Okay. Give me more free stuff. Do we get boats? Can I go there? And so the book does explain that most of the things doesn't do it justice. It's not good wording. Everything in society that we have had to contain before is nothing like what we are trying to contain now. That's the scary part about evolution. Compared to software is obviously a bigger challenge, because how do you contain or regulate something that anybody can download? And then even at this point, how do you restrict something that is so ingrained in the way that we live our day-to-day lives? It's almost like we need it now to be able to continue to make progress in every other aspect, right? Like AI is already out there. There's nothing you can do about that. But not only that, computers, TVs, phones, these things are already so ingrained in our culture, they're part of our education system. And so if we face the issue of regulation, how do we go about that without stepping into things like authoritarianism or a full-blown surveillance territory? How much control is too much control? These are all very valid questions, very important questions. And in my opinion, it's imperative that we start having these conversations as a collective, regardless of what people's political, beliefs, views, or affiliations might be. And it is important that we start having these conversations. Now, I keep questioning what that is. I need to know. In any case, it is important that we start having these conversations before these problems hit the cultural stage, because after they do, there will be nothing we can do about them. We might just be in too deep by then. Where I'm at in the book so far, he starts having the discussion of issues adjacent to the synthetic biology and how close to engineering biology we're currently threading. It explains how gene editing tools are becoming more and more accessible, and the barrier to experimenting with these things is also dropping. And so, of course, I will be working on part 2 as soon as possible. But before we get there, it is super important that we have a mental health check. And what do I mean by this? Falling for doom mentality does no favors to absolutely no one involved in this conversation, and that includes you. We are not the first generation to see the end of a cycle, and we also won't be the last. And so people who are framing this as the end of the world need to calm down. Culture is going to change. It has every single time before. The reason why this time it feels like such a big deal is because it's happening faster, but it is pretty much the same process. And so adaptability is going to play a very big part in your capacity to stay mentally healthy during all these changes. But please remember, as far as process, meaning us having to adapt to a new world order, there's nothing new about that. What is changing is the order itself. As I said before, I will say this again, everything in nature, oh, that's so pretty. Everything in nature is cyclical. And with that in mind, destruction is merely the beginning of creation. And it's not particularly uncommon to see it. Oh my God. Whee! Do I have to drive it, or does it do the thing on its own? Am I gonna fall? Mom? Whee! Oh my God. It's beautiful. To earn 3 random elements? No. Is that how you do that? Am I done? Oh, that is so cute. It's so cute. Okay. I think it's time for me to go. I don't see anything else I can interact with, so I'm just gonna leave. In any case, destruction is the beginning of creation and vice versa. So while I'd love for us to discuss where we think this is all going and how it can affect humanity, it's not healthy to assume the worst case scenario is the most likely scenario. I'm not saying be biased. It's normal to again perform a degree of mental risk assessment to these conversations. I'm saying do not get lost in the idea that there is no solution, because there is always a solution. We have made it this far. We can absolutely make it much further. And with that being said, why am I doing that? Why am I like this? And with that being said, I'm gonna leave it here up to now. It's getting pretty long. This is for the most part an opening and also some questions. And if this reaches anyone and you're interested in participating in the conversation, I would love to read what you think or what you have to say. So please leave me a comment. I'm not here to cast any judgments or make any decisions for people. I think there is value in just starting these conversations and seeing where they take us. Why can't I reach that? Whee! Aha! Hell yeah! So please tell me what you think. More tomatoes. More tomatoes. Do they just stay here? It would appear that they just stay here. Now at least. Oh, that's so cute. What the hell? Anyways, thank you for watching. Don't do anything that I wouldn't. Friendly reminder. That does include no arson, no ending up in jail, and no ending up in the hospital. No adding to the population and no subtracting from the population. I love you very much. And I'll see you later. Bye-bye.